Hi guys, and welcome back to Marvel Man 901. So I'm gonna start with week 7 here and let's go from there. I'm gonna start with Doom 2099, issue 16, which is from 1994. In this issue we have Wire and Doom. Might be the original Doctor Doom, might be someone else, not really sure. They are entering a sort of virtual unreality which was created by Jordan Boone, who you can see here looking like a medieval peasant. So what happens in there is that Doom is presented with a way that he can conquer the Earth, which is something he has always wanted to do. He is approached by Alexander the Great, Caesar, Napoleon, Genghis Khan, and a lot of others. And they all kind of goad him into doing it, and it doesn't really take that much, as he always has it on his mind. So he accepts it and starts to invade everyone, take away the borders, and just take over everything. Kills everyone who is opposed to him. However, things don't really go as he planned it, and he is eventually approached with a lot of resistance and a lawyer who turns into a general, who I believe is Jordan Boone, who probably has full control over his unreality. He is a lot stronger than Doom, and he kind of forces him back and changes the way he perceives things, kind of rewinds everything for both Doom and Wire. So they have no idea what has happened, and they just kind of move on. So this story is basically, things happen but don't happen kind of thing. It's a little weird, but again, it's pretty interesting to see how Doom puts his plans into action. So the character of that day was Stellaris. Now, she is a sole survivor of a judgment by the Celestials. As you might know, the Celestials tend to judge certain planets based on their inhabitants and the strongest race. They have done so on Earth with humans and on Asgard and other stuff like that. Stellaris is the sole survivor, and she hates the Celestials, quite rightly. She also calls herself the Celestial Slayer. She has been introduced in Thor in the 90s. I believe it was when Eric Masterson, or Thunderstrike, as he's now called, when he was Thor at the time. A little bit confusing maybe, but yeah. Anyway, she is one of those characters who is either a hero or a villain or both. It's difficult really to tell what she is. She is, however, very strong, mainly because of the technological advancement that she has in her suits. So yeah, interesting character. Hope to see more of her, probably will. Yeah. So I'm gonna continue on with X-Men 13. This is one of the oldies. You might have noticed that I do post a lot of old comics as well, from the 60s. I think it's kind of fun to see those as a contrast to those that I otherwise post from the 90s. So this one is from 1965, and it continues the story of the first appearance of the Juggernaut, how he goes after his stepbrother, Professor X, as a sort of vengeance thing. He fights the X-Men, and he's really completely beating them. They have no chance whatsoever. They use every trick in the book, and well, he is just all powerful over them. Just raw power. The design on him is kind of fun, I guess. He looks a little bit like a barrel, I guess. Big difference from the later times, from the 90s. where he is more muscle bound, more mean looking. Anyway, Professor Xavier goes for a different tactic and psychically contacts the Human Torch as begging for help. Torch pretty much doesn't really have a chance to resist that either. It's actually kind of brutal in a way. It's very forcible. So he forces Human Torch to help them, which he does, and he will not remember this afterwards. Which is again a little bit kind of goes against Professor X's nature, which just shows how desperate he really is here. So the Human Torch arrives, helps them just as much as it can really, and eventually it actually leads to the Angel be able to rip off the protective helmet that Juggernaut has, which enables Professor X to enter his mind and stop him. But it is just barely, really barely, and then of course, like I said, removing the memory from Torch's mind. Again, a little bit mean and forcible. So we go into the 90s here, again, 94, with X-Force 33, the continuation of Child's Play. This is part 3 of 4. As I said in a previous episode, I mentioned Child's Play and basically say what it's about. But I will go through it again, as it's better that way. It's pretty much about Games Master, extremely powerful telepath, who uses the upstarts, pretty much small-time characters who wants to play, have fun. He gives them a mission to kidnap former members of Hellions and the New Mutants. Neither of them are actually active now. They are mostly in other groups or retired or something like that. This is a crossover between X-Force and the New Warriors, which both has former members of either Hellions or the New Mutants. And these upstarts, Trevor Fitzroy, Graydon Creed, Sienna Blaze, Shinobi, and Fenris, who are new there, they kidnap some of these characters and bring them to Games Master. Of course, this kind of pisses off these two groups. And we see here that Cable and his X-Force fights Trevor Fitzroy, who is very powerful from the future. And it really takes, he really gives them a good match. As you can see here in his enhanced kind of suit thing, Cable uses a very sound and very smart technique, tricks Trevor and beats him through his own means, basically. It's very, very clever, very smart. So we also can see where Moonstar and some of the other former members of Hellions and New Mutants are trapped. And the Games Master going through plans, actually taking Justice and Firestar as well. The whole Justice and Firestar thing is actually a ploy, which was orchestrated by Night Thrasher of the New Warriors, and they really want to know where their members, where their friends are. So they go to Graydon Creed, who is one of the upstarts. He is a non-mutant, kind of, maybe. Not really sure right now. They force him to tell them where this headquarters is. And X-Force has a similar tactic, but they use Bantam, who is pretty much a guide, I guess you can say, for Trevor Fitzroy, who they've already beaten. They use him to get to Shinobi Shaw, who is also an upstart. And they force him, while he takes a bath, to tell them where Games Master is. You can of course understand that they are a bit upset, and Shinobi is kind of cool. He tells them very, very calmly that, well, they are in Switzerland, in one of my houses, pretty much. Karma of the New Mutants, who is no longer of the New Mutants, of course, she had thought that she had tricked Sienna Blaze into taking them captive and taking them, some of the members, Moonstar and Cannonball. Sorry, not Cannonball, Moonstar and Empath, to the headquarters and then to let them free. However, not exactly going to plan there, as Sienna Blaze just fucked with them. Tricking them and beating them down, beating them down. Games Master is just happy about having them, and as you can see here. Okay, so continuing, going into the character of that day, who is conveniently enough Strong Guy. Probably know that he is of the X Factor at the moment, anyway. It's a funny guy. His real name is Guido Carosella, which is just a ridiculous name, but still fun. He's a really cool character, one of the jokesters of the group, and still has a very deep and troubled past. Check him out. He's really something to look at in many ways. Continuing to next day, one of them classics from 1963 this time, Tales to Astonish 46. This is a story about Ant-Man and the Wasp checking out a rumor of a huge Cyclops character in Greece. So they travel there and get some more rumors of where this character might be. They go out into the sea, meet him, and as it turned out, it is a sort of ploy, I guess you could say, from a fairly unknown terrorist group, I think it is, who used this android Cyclops character to wreak havoc. And honestly, it's difficult to really understand why they do this, but they do, and Ant-Man and the Wasp manages to fiddle with the insides in a grotesque manner to make it just go away and drown itself. Ending that story. Continuing on to Ghost Rider Volume 3, 48 from 94, which is Horror Tuesday thing I'm trying to keep up with anyway. It is a continuation of the story called Under Fire. Ghost Rider here, as you might see, is not in fact Ghost Rider, but it is Vengeance. Vengeance is one of the three, one of the Blood's one of the Midnight Suns, let's say that, to make a long story short. Anyway, he's also a cop in New York. They had previously arrested Dredd, as you can see here. However, there's an introduction of a character called Rock probably. Grotesque character, monsterish, who is a hireling of some sort of Hellgate. Someone who Bardolino, or whatever his name is, Vengeance, has been looking for many years. However, Rock comes to free Dredd, which he does, and Vengeance and Spider-Man, actually, who was in the vicinity doing a press conference, I believe, on Dredd. They go into the police station to fight these two monstrous villains. However, the villains run away, they get free. Reluctantly, Vengeance agrees to let Spider-Man help him, as Spider-Man had a way to trace these villains to their hideout. The heroes arrive, big fight. As you can see, Vengeance goes a little bit dark side here and kills Rock. Almost kills Dredd as well. Spider-Man is, of course, really not happy about that, but as he later finds out, is that, well, these two villains are in fact not even alive. Hellgate, as you can see here, first appearance actually, I believe, anyway. He tells them that, yeah, things are going to happen now. You are on my radar and I will not let you go. Anyway, going on to the character of that day is Terminus. This is an alien conqueror, destroyer kind of guy who has fought the Avengers, Fantastic Four among others. Big, strong, powerful character, planet destroyer. Interesting character though. Check him out. Continuing to the next day, excuse me, kind of stuttering there. We have Tales to Astonish 47 from 1963. Again, a very small story, and the thing that is with those stories, unfortunately, is that they're not very, very good, to be honest. They're not bad, they're not just that great. In my opinion, of course. Ant-Man and the Wasp, they investigate this guy who plays a flute, called Trago. He uses his music to entrance people, commit crimes, such stuff. And they do defeat him, obviously. Continuing on to the next day, we have the Incredible Hulk. It is the conclusion of the Trojan War. Now, you might react to the Trojan part here. This is, in fact, what the species is called. But yeah, it's a whole pantheon thing, so it's obviously Greece related. Anyway, what happened before is that Trauma, who is a Trojan, he kidnapped Atalanta, one of the pantheon, brought her to his spaceship where his father Armageddon is, and Hulk, Silver Surfer, Starjammers, and the rest of the Pantheon followed. A lot of fighting and stuff like that in space. The Pantheon is captives, and Starjammers, Hulk, and Silver Surfer wanders in and meets Armageddon. Armageddon explains that Trauma and Atalanta are now married, as per a pact by the Pantheon leader called Armageddon, which he had done a long time ago. Apparently he had made a pact with the Trojans that if he were given powers and means to give powers to others, he would train certain warriors who were the Pantheon, and he would deliver one of them as a mate for his son or the people of Trojan, the Trojans. Sorry. Hulk, of course, reacts to this naturally. Meanwhile, Achilles releases the rest of the Pantheon. Hector, Ulysses, Cassiopeia. And continuing on, Atalanta explains to Hulk about the situation. Again, he's not happy. Neither is Armageddon, though, as Hulk tries to attack his son, and he uses his vast power to attack Hulk. Apparently, Armageddon has a sort of cosmic power, such as the Silver Surfer as well. The Hulk kind of goads Trauma, saying that he's just a puppet for his father, makes him fight him, use the whole honor thing. Naturally, Trauma is he's taking the bait big time, attacks him. Meanwhile, while their fight is going on, the Silver Surfer is attacked by the cosmic power wielder, Armageddon. Armageddon kind of puts down Silver Surfer pretty hard. Cassiopeia runs along and uses her incredibly vast power to fight Armageddon, releasing Silver Surfer, who now is seriously pissed off and shows that he is power. And he attacks Armageddon. While this is happening, the Hulk continues his fight with Trauma, the Pantheon and the Starjammers run away because honestly a lot of power is running around and they're likely to be killed. The fight between Trauma and Hulk ends dramatically with the death of Trauma by his own armaments or his own, I don't really know what, the shoulder pads, I guess. In his dying breath he confesses that he truly does love Atalanta. She of course has somewhat feelings for him, but I guess it's just a traumatic experience overall. Armageddon grieves his son and basically just throws the others out. Without a fight or anything, he's just telling them to get the hell out of here. This is over, this is done, get out. It's a very... I really like the ending. It's really gruesome, something I really like. Great artistic, greatly penciled by Gary Frank and all that. So going on to the character of that day was Vibro. He's a small-time villain, an Iron Man villain. I think he's been around in like 2-3 issues. However, he's extremely powerful. He has vibrating powers, obviously, but he is kind of small time as he is not around a lot. That's what I got to say about him. He does look like a very disturbed individual, I guess. Continuing on to the next day, we got Daredevil number 2 from 1964. Cool issue. Daredevil in his red and yellow leotard. What this story is about is that the Thing of the Fantastic Four come along asking to hire Nelson and Murdoch for legal reasons. Daredevil decides to kind of keep an eye on their building, which is good, and the Baxter building, of course. Which is a good idea as Electro decides to use the fact that the Fantastic Four is out of town to steal some secrets. And, well, as we all know, Mr. Fantastic has a lot of secrets, inventions and stuff. A lot of money in there. Anyway, Daredevil sees it, he enters, he fights Electro, and, I mean, if you look at the power levels between these two characters, Daredevil shouldn't really have a chance here, but he really puts up a good fight. It's really believable too, actually. However, Electro gets the upper hand. He knocks Daredevil unconscious, puts him into a rocket, sends him out into space, and just thinks, yeah, he's gone. Very kind of mean. But then again, so is that villain. Daredevil wakes up, he manages to steer the rocket back down to Earth and then finds Electro, just barely makes him not steal, prevents him from stealing. Electro flees and Daredevil's on his tail, he fights him in a theater and defeats him. And of course here in the end, the Thing enters the offices of Nelson and Murdoch, bit upset, breaks the door yet again, and they decide not to hire them. So basically, even though Daredevil saves their butts, he loses them as the client. And, well, to be fair, they would be a really good client to have. Moving on back to the 90s again, 94. We have Namor the Submariner, issue 47. Sorry, that's not right. There's 49, sorry. Anyway, this is a continuation-ish of Star Blast, or it's more of a what happened after their Star Blast involvement. He has nightmares about his lost loves, which is a lot of them. 2 of them already died, 1 of them by his hand. So yeah, he has a lot of baggage. He's stuck in quarantine a little bit here, as he had some aftermath effects of the Star Blast incident. However, 4 days later he comes out, good friends with the Fantastic Four stuff there again. Continuing on with the project that he and Stingray had been working on to make a sanctuary for land dwellers and underwater dwellers, I guess you can call them. Again, sanctuary for them to be, basically. Andromeda, as you can see here, she comes with her father's army, her father being Atuma, a big time villain of the Submariner. They come along, and the Atlantean troops that guards the outpost sanctuary place, they of course react, as they are old foes, old enemies, and they attack. It's a big fight between the 2 armies. Submariner comes along and just breaks it up, stops Andromeda, in her tracks, and she explains that this is all just a misunderstanding. I am here to pledge my allegiance. I want to be one of your warlords. However, Submariner is more of a peace kind of guy at the moment, so he wants to make her his first ever peace lord. Yeah, it's just a gesture, really. Cutting on to Namorita and Submariner up in on the surface world. They talk a bit, her being blue from a previous experience underwater, and they have a board meeting. He has, of course, a company called Oracle Inc., a big time company doing a lot of environmental stuff, naturally. We have Phoebe Mars here with a ridiculous hairdo. She kind of channels her dead brother Desmond, and she pretty much wants to take over the company, and she has good reasons actually for it, which she uses. She is a bit of a villain though, so expect more of this further on. Also continuing on here with the New Warriors, the conclusion of Child's Play. This is part 4. The 2 teams rendezvous in Switzerland, having both gotten the same information. X-Force and the New Warriors work together to fight Gamesmaster. It's an interesting fight. Gamesmaster is an extremely powerful telepath, like I said before, and he uses both his captives and the people who actually tries to fight him to fight them. He takes over minds, and yeah. So he also uses Sienna Blaze, of course. She has extremely powerful abilities, and she knocks down several of them. You can see here where Night Thrasher actually just completely stops the corrupted Firestar, who is a lot stronger than him, more powerful, but he uses his special tactics and takes her down. And Cable actually manifests his telepathic abilities for the first time by taking down his teammate Cannonball. Big surprise really to everyone there. It's finally great to see him using those abilities, as we all know what he's going to do later on, or some of us know. However, Gamesmaster is almost all powerful. He takes them all down, except one, Paige Guthrie, who happened to be Cannonball's sister. Now, she obviously upset. She's a mutant who hasn't actually showed her abilities as of yet, I know that she's going to be a mutant later on, or she knows she's a mutant, but she converses with Games Master and convinces him to release them all, as, well, there's an even bigger game further on, because new mutants arrive every day. And she convinces him, like I said, and he releases them all. And it's an interesting ending, really. Great to see her being more active. I guess let's see what the future says about that, basically. Continuing on yet again with Wind Warrior. Now, she is a small-time hero, villain type, more hero, I guess. I think she's an ex-cop. She is of the Earth Force, who were created by the villainous Seth. She was introduced in Thor comics, the Mighty Thor. Wind powers, basically. She's a small time, like I said. The next day here, we are on Friday, I believe. Yeah, it's Spider-Man Day. I almost always post Amazing Spider-Man, at least from the 60s. This is from 64. This is issue 17, sorry. It's fun really here to see where Spider-Man accidentally interrupts a movie production, believing it's a crime happening, which just happened to be actors in a helicopter. People are upset. He kind of apologizes and scampers away. It's a fun little happenstance there. Continuing on, it's a bit of a love triangle, which happened a lot actually during his earlier days. Betty Brant having a crush on him, he has a bit of a crush on her as well, I guess. And then of course there is Liz Allen, who later marries Harry Osborn, Peter's best friend later on. She has a bit of an infatuation on him as well, much to Flash Thompson's horror, I guess. He's a bit of upset about that. He doesn't really like Parker, you know. Anyway, Peter Parker learns that the Spider-Man fan club will have a town meeting or a party, and Spider-Man will be there in person, which is a big surprise to this guy, for obvious reasons. However, the rivalry between Human Torch and Spider-Man, of course, rears its ugly head, and they will, of course, later be friends, but that will be later. Anyway, Human Torch also arrives there. I think it's more for his girlfriend than anything else. Spider-Man arrives at the fan club meeting place thing going on there. He shows off his powers. However, we have one of his greatest nemesis ever, the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. He shows up, fights. People don't really know what to do, if they're gonna cheer or not. I think this is a bit of part of the show. It is not. The Green Goblin really shows that he is, even though he doesn't really have any powers, he can really bring the fight to both Spider-Man and Human Torch, who decides to join the fun. It's really spectacular to see the Green Goblin like this, how he does actually pretty much toys with them. In the end, however, the fight breaks up. All of them really leaves. The heroes try to find Green Goblin, but Goblin just, it's not time yet, you know. Great artwork by Steve Ditko, definitely a classic. Moving on to The Shroud. This is the second issue from 1994. And it's continuation here with Spider-Man and the Shroud being trapped under some heavy debris. Spider-Man is knocked out. They are basically seconds away from getting blown up by the Scorpion. However, Shroud manages to save both of them, and then he goes after the Scorpion, completely beats him brilliantly, tricks Spider-Man, and then escapes with Scorpion. He uses some of his friends' technological things to gain some information from Scorpion about who had hired him to find and kill King. Shroud goes to. He follows the clues. He finds a Cult of Kali book, which is to great surprise to him. He follows up the clues from there and actually finds a castle in the middle of New York, which happened to be a headquarters for the cult. He had previously been in the cult himself and left. After that, the cult actually went from good to bad, and they became assassins. When he is inside the castle, he finds his own old mentor, Balinor, who explains what happened, somewhat at least. Explains that the monks actually went bad, became assassins, and he meets some of these assassins in the end. It's interesting to see what's going to happen in the next issue. Shroud himself is actually a pretty cool character. I really like him. Not much is known about him. It's definitely something to check out. It's really cool. Moving on, we got the character or characters of that day, which is the X-Men third lineup. Now, some confusion was in my Instagram account here about when this lineup actually arose. They are from the 80s, but these slides are from the 90s. That is the difference. Most people probably realize that from what I can see from the comments, but anyway. Great lineup, probably one of the best lineups that I've seen. A lot of interesting characters were introduced. Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, Sunfire, a little bit early, I believe. So great characters. We all really love these characters mostly. Anyway, moving on to the next day, we have Star Blast number 4. This is the conclusion, the amazing conclusion, really, of the Star Blast incident, the Star Blast saga. And it mostly takes place in the new universe. The Marvel did a whole new universe thing with Justice, Psyhawk, and many more in the 80s. I believe it was the 80s anyway. Anyway, Quasar works together with these new universe heroes who kind of suspiciously, but eventually just joins Quasar in this, because they don't really know much of what happens, and he does at least. He takes them up to into space to fight the Star Blasters, but there's only 2 left. Skeletron and this other guy. What Skeletron really wants here is to use the Star Brand, which the Stranger now has. He took from Kayla, who happened to be Quasar's girlfriend. The Star Brand is basically a tattoo with a lot of power behind it. With it, you are pretty much a god. Anyway, Skeletron wants to he wants to kill everything that is organic, anything living, living organics, humans and likes, and he wants to use the Star Brand for it. Stranger is opposed to this, of course. Half of his planet was transformed and transported into this other universe, and the Stranger is mainly because of the Stranger's mark, this Star Brand. It's kind of clashing with his own powers, which is putting it all in flux. A lot of other heroes kind of went went with the traveling onto this new universe. You got Icarus, Binary, Perrin, among others. Stranger kind of alters them, makes them more powerful, among others. Black Bolt actually can't talk now, he can control his voice, among other things. The power of his voice, that is. He used those heroes to fight the Star Blasters. There's a bit of confusion here, as the new universe heroes are in the Star Blasters ship, who turned out to be the entirety of Skeletron. There's a big fight between these different universe heroes. Eventually, though, they work together as the Stranger realizes that these heroes who happen to be on the ship is not in fact the Star Blasters themselves. Also a huge fight between Skeletron and Stranger. Stranger kind of tricks Skeletron. Skeletron kind of draws the power from the Starbrand that Stranger had. He gets more powerful and Stranger gets weaker. However, as he loses that power, the rest of his planet is transported back. At least that is how he describes it. So pretty much the Skeletron is stuck in the new universe without their Earth, as well as the Stranger transported their Earth to their universe, to the 616 universe. So now their Earth is orbiting the Stranger's laboratory planet, leaving Skeletron left in a universe which he can't do anything with, basically. Nice conclusion, a little bit confusing here and there, but yeah, pretty cool. So the last entry I got here is the character of Saturday, who is an Eternal called Agenor. Not much is known, haven't actually seen much of him. I know that he was a general in the Soviet Union, actually. It's a great warrior and all that. Yeah, small-time character, really. So yeah, that was it. That was this week, and hope you enjoyed. Sorry if the sound isn't still that good. Hoping to rectify that. Of course, all these characters, all these events, all this artwork and such, they are Marvel property. They are Marvel's. Yeah, none of this is mine. I'm just the messenger. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope you all stay safe, and yeah, see you in a week, hopefully.